welcome to Facebook Live number 19. I appreciate your time and thanks for joining in. We're talking about life-work balance, but tonight is a tell-all kind of evening. I thought I would share some of my own personal experience with life-work balance. My name is Rebecca Beardsley, for those of you who don't know me, and I am over 35 years in the industry. We generally start with a 60-second silence. Let's get going. Rest your feet on the ground and your hands on your lap, palms down, and become aware of your breath, particularly the out breath. And we'll start this 60 seconds in one moment. Oh boy. Are you having a difficult time finding your equilibrium? Yes. Is everything in the salon rattling you? Are you having a hard time in your salons? It is my experience that us stylists are so passionate about what we do. And for those of you who are so passionate, who are used to working 24/7 and going for it, and if it's not this, it's that, and da boom, da bum, and you're busy and you're out there and you're creating like crazy, and there are times that all has to come to a standstill, as we just saw during this pandemic and shelter in place. There are some of us that are so driven that we do let other areas go up in our lives. And I've seen it a lot. And I think there's just something in hairdressers who are passionate that sometimes it takes them over tilt. And it's hard to recognize when you're doing it sometimes because you are so busy and you're busy creating and it's so fabulous. But what about this? And especially if you were raised in your career in a high-level salon, there is a whole lot of pressure to perform. It's actually, I'm really grateful I never had to work in a salon like that personally. It's not my cup of tea. I've had a little more homespun kind of career, but I'm grateful for it. I was raised by a couple of very incredible hairstylists who my mentor, Kata Lekaj, actually just passed in May of this year. She was in her 90s and she was fabulous. She was definitely in the forefront. She was a forward-thinking person. And so I've had the gift of working with gifted stylists and did get to see some of them burn out. It's a sad day when that happens. It's so easy for it to happen because it's so disguised, particularly in our culture but particularly in our industry. I don't know what it is, what attracts that kind of energy or makes us feel like we have to do that. But a lot of it is the bottom line. It comes down to money. And there's all kinds of programs out there about making more money. And although I work with people to make more money, it's not in the usual way. So where I'd like to, I guess where I want to continue with that is, for the first while out of beauty school, I mean, I didn't go to a fancy school. I went to a little school, beauty school in Lancaster, California. And I almost quit the first 6 weeks. I couldn't stand learning about the muscles and all that, and the smells sometimes were just too much. And my instructor encouraged me to stay, and how glad I am 35 years later that she encouraged me to stay. It makes me think that it only takes one person saying to you, you know, you'll be good at this. And thank goodness she did, because I had no other plan for my life. I actually got a grant to go to school. I was working as a waitress, and a friend, I had always been cutting hair, but this friend encouraged me to, you should go to beauty school. So I did. I was working, and I thought I knew about hair, and I thought I was doing a decent job, so I don't want to diss myself. But it wasn't until I became an educator that I was astonished at the world of education and what goes on behind closed doors. But also, it upped my skill set. No kidding. I learned so much, and that was with Rusk many years ago. And it changed my whole trajectory, because I saw that, oh, this is what it means to really learn and to grow. And, you know, it ignited this passion for taking it to the next level. And many years later became an educator for L'Oreal Professional on the national stage. And that was such a great experience. I just knew at the same time that I opened my one chair studio where I work for myself. I've always worked for myself, and I have that leaning that I want to encourage all stylists to work for themselves. So in general, that's where I come from. I've always have felt supported in the salons I worked at, but I've always been responsible for my own business. And I just want hairdressers to experience that. I want stylists to experience that. It's just not all what they say it is, okay? So there's many different roads to a great, successful career. About 7 years ago, 7 years ago, I was really beginning. I reached an all-time sort of low moment in my career. It was about realizing that I was not honoring myself by not having my own studio, that I needed to claim my spot. I needed to claim my spot and say, you matter, and you need to do hair in the environment that makes sense for you. I just needed my own space. It's simply not about making anything or anybody wrong. It really is about, when you come to that moment, it's like a truth-telling moment that I was on a high level of stress. That's when I knew I had to open my own studio. It's like the shade went up, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to do next. So that's when I feel like the life-work balance really started to make sense to me. But in terms of having the balance more even, I was too used to doing things at full hilt. COVID has brought to me a whole nother level of life-work balance, because now I see I can't go back. I can't go back to letting work run my life. I need to structure my time differently. And part of that is due to having a daughter who's in school and learning and at home and distance learning. So you have to adjust. We have to adjust to what is happening now. And that's all the choice we have. So the life-work balance then for me, 7 years ago, reached a high point of like, okay, I'm out of balance and this is not working anymore, to COVID and reaching a whole nother level of, no, now this really, I really want to create more balance. I would just ask you to reflect and see how that is working for you. Because I think when work is sucking it all up from us, it doesn't leave room for other things like family, like your loved ones, your creative self, your spiritual self, your financial self. It's like it gets all the focus, and it can really rob you of a full life. And life is too short. Let's be honest, life is too short. We must learn how to do this much sooner. The fact that it took me 10 years at least to begin seeing, there was more to my career than just cutting hair. I mean, I love cutting hair. Don't get me wrong, I love cutting hair. But that it took 10 years for somebody to knock and say, hello, you know, do you want to broaden your career? So when somebody offers the opportunity, I've always been a yes person. When it comes to trying something new, I've always done it. I've never said no to an invitation. And I've always sought out experiences that would help me grow and learn. And so I'm sharing with you my learning right now. And it is about, if you've experienced some simplicity during the shelter in place, and even now we're not working at full capacity, does it mean we have to make sacrifices? Yes. Yes, it means that the pocketbook isn't so full, right? But, you know, do we make enough? Do you charge enough? Do you still give your clients 100% when they're there in your chair? That, developing those relationships and developing strong relationships is key to your survival in this business. So my suggestion for those of you who've been in it a long time, reflect. Reflect on how you're balancing your career and your family life and other things that matter to you. Or there's just not going to be. I mean, the days are numbered of how many you get to do this, how many years you get to do this. So I just urge you, especially if you're in your 50s and up, that you reflect on where you want to be going in your career and look at the balance in your life. If you are still struggling with balance, I urge you to take a look and restructure your business a bit to accommodate your life and doing these other things that are important to you. If you're just starting out, if you've gone to school or you were in school, maybe you've graduated, you know, this is all going to turn around. It will. We will get through this, and you will be ready to launch your career. So be mindful about where you choose to put yourself and where you choose to learn, and watch the expectations of yourself. It's a conversation between you and the salon, and being real upfront about what the expectations are. You know, you have to see what works in your life and what makes sense. You'll know by just tuning in to yourself, just physically, emotionally, as you're in a salon, as you meet the people there. What is this where I want to be? Does it feel right? But be very clear about what the expectations are. It's been such a journey, and I feel grateful. And I think this topic of life-work balance is something we have to revisit over and over and over. Because if you're not in balance, you will be edgier, you will be less kind to the people around you, because you're simply not taking care of yourself. You know, you project, and everything out there looks like it's the meanie. And so just do it. You know, start creating balance. And if you start out your work life, your career in hairdressing, carving out those time slots for yourself, you'll be so rewarded in the end. It's good to start those habits as soon as you can. And in fact, one of the things I do is I go through my schedule and I will mark out just here and there. Just go through the year and I mark out, because my books are open for a year, I will mark out days. I'll mark out 4 days off in a row together. I'll mark out a morning here, an evening there. And what that allows me to do is have control over my schedule, so I can titrate my clients. I can open up a day and great, I have a day to add to the week for clients, and they're always thrilled to get in. So it just, when you can plan and look ahead and create balance in your schedule ahead of time, then when that moment arises, you look a week ahead and say, oh, I have planned to take that off, but I think I'll work instead. Or I'm going to keep that because I've been swamped and I want to have a little time to myself. So that's how I play with my schedule. And so I would encourage all of you who, no matter how many years you've been in the business, that you just take time to reflect, write down where you feel out of balance and where you feel in balance, and do a little less in the out of balance places. You've got to create some, it's like balance to me. There is some tension. Everything has its weight. And so they've all got to be playing at the same level. Otherwise, there's a sink. There's a sinkhole, and the energy goes there, and all these other areas then can start crumbling. So, you know, there's no destination. It is easy to think that, oh, you've handled it, and the next day something comes up and blows it all up. So, what you need to do is really see that it's a day-to-day practice. It is. It's just a day-to-day practice. So have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. And this week create some beautiful work and have a wonderful week. I wish you well. Talk to you later. Have a good week. Bye.